many of you have or know of somebody that needs an organ transplant? Raise your hand. No? Okay. How about, would you consider donating your organs for free? Okay. Would you consider donating your organs for a financial reward? Okay. So, according to the U.S. government information on organ donation statistics, 95% of Americans do support donating their organs for free. However, only 48% of those supporters are actually registered. So I asked myself, why aren't the 95% of supporters registered? What solution would increase the number of donors? My proposition is that the legal sale of organs will resolve a significant health problem in the United States. In my argument, I will present to you basic information about the current shortage of organs, how the sale of organs actually facilitates their availability, and third, how the sale of organs actually benefits the donor, the recipient, and even the U.S. government. So first off, let me point out that prior to the National Organ Transplant of 1984, which bans the sale of organs, there were no actual laws that regarded body parts as property. Therefore, families could dispose of the body or bury their deceased family members basically how they believed was righteous. It wasn't until Barry Jacobs, a licensed doctor at the time in Virginia, established a company to broker human kidneys. And in this process, individuals were encouraged to sell one of their kidneys for an amount that they chose. The patient receiving the transplant would pay for the transplant operation, and Barry Jacobs would receive anywhere from $2,000 to $5,000 in commissions. This is according to a journal published by the Virginia Law Review in 1985. So with that national act that basically was addressed because people thought it was unfair that people had the right to buy a kidney, the government passed a law, but they didn't realize that the current shortage of organs, that their current shortage of organs would continue to increase, and as of today, it causes thousands of lives each year. For example, in 2012 alone, there were 95,000 patients waiting on a kidney transplant, but only 16,500 recipients actually received it. That's according to a Wall Street Journal article in 2014. Today, the Gift of Life Donor Program states that there are over 122,000 patients waiting on a kidney transplant, but just last year, only 30,000 transplants were made. That equals to 4 to 6% of people who are actually receiving a transplant and bettering their health. That brings me to my next point. Establishing an efficient and reliable market system would increase the number of people who donate. According to Claire Andre Manuel Vasquez, both professors at the University of Santa Clara, the possibility of financial reward actually encourages people to donate their organs, and that would also increase the supply. A bigger pool of suppliers means that a recipient would have a better chance of finding a matching donor. Now let's consider the benefits. The benefits would be that this market system would actually benefit the donor because they would provide anywhere from $50,000 to $200,000, according to Alexander Berger, who is a writer for the New York Post, and he's also a donor himself. This system would be efficient through the government, since only the government and chosen nonprofits would be able to allocate those kidneys as well as make the purchase. And the donor then would receive a tangible reward for their contribution. Furthermore, health researchers estimate that the U.S. government would save up to $100,000 in costs relative to dialysis treatment of one patient in 1 year. Now, some people may argue that selling organs is unethical or contradictory to their religious beliefs, but that is the reason why donating your organs is optional in the first place. But for those who want to be helpful and ask for a little help in return, the market system mentioned above ensures that the sole purpose of the transaction would be to save someone's life who doesn't have much or too long to live. In conclusion, the sale of organs will not only benefit the recipient, but the donor as well, and save millions of dollars to the U.S. government.
All right, Araceli. By the way, I did see you. I didn't recognize you because I had my glasses on. It's dark. I was walking in the hallway. She waved at me in the hallway, and I said, "Hey." All right. The proposition's clearly identified. You have a preview. The first point really is background information. It's not a supporting claim. So that probably would have been better to use as your introduction rather than the whole audience survey thing, which takes time and not everybody's paying close attention, so they're not going to know what your numbers were in that situation. I think that if you had that background information there, that would have been perfectly fine, and then present the claim. Your two other claims, though, are clearly labeled, and in the body of the speech, you do a good job signposting them as well. There's basic factual data that's provided. I like the background information, like I said, on the one guy who attempted to do this before the law was passed. It mostly explained, though, what the cost was going to be. It didn't talk about how many kidneys he produced, how many transplants resulted from his actions and behaviors, whether or not people were satisfied with the experience that they had. So it feels a little bit like here's an example that would illustrate the thing that you're talking about, but we're never going to talk about it again, except that it was a justification for putting in a law in place in the first place that changes this particular option. But I thought you set that up pretty well. You had some good information about the number of people who who say they're willing to donate versus the number who are actually registered. There is an attribution there, though, that the reason that that is the case is because they are not allowed to sell the organs, and I just think that you need a little bit more information on that to demonstrate that people would be willing to do it, even for the financial inducement. There were a couple of pieces of testimony that suggested that that was likely to occur, and I assume that we're going to be trusting those experts to some degree. But the reasoning behind their argument is, I think it's back to straight market forces. If you know what, I might sell a kidney too if I could pay off my daughter's student debt. That would be a pretty good deal, because nobody would want my kidneys. They're too old. All right. I do think that you had one place where you didn't cite your evidence as clearly. It was like health researchers said it's going to decrease dialysis costs. That's probably a good quote, but you ought to tell us who it is that said those things. A little more reading than you want. Thank you.